This is just a very quick follow-up video to the previous video that I posted, and in this series I am repairing and restoring a vintage 9845B vintage computer. And in the last couple of videos I've been going over the tape drive system, and in particular the tapes themselves. And in the previous video I was showing how I go about trying to restore these tapes and getting data off them. And in response to that video, somebody asked me what turned out to be a very interesting question. My initial response to the question was going to be, well, watch the video. And then I realized that the question, or the point of the question, wasn't actually in the video. Now, it's one of the pitfalls in making videos like this, in that what you're seeing here they're not contrived or staged repairs. I'm just videoing actual repairs in real time. So you're kind of seeing what I'm seeing, albeit with gaps in it, because it's not practical to record everything. But the average 30-minute video that I post might come from editing down maybe 6 or 7 hours of video footage. And sometimes I make a mistake and accidentally edit out some important points. So thanks for the comment. I did go back and watch the video again. I don't normally watch my own videos, I edit them and then just post them. But I watched the video and realised I'd edited out a very important part of the repair process. And it is quite a critical part, so I decided to post this additional video. Because if you're not aware of this and you don't carry out this part of the repair, you can destroy your tapes. So I thought it was well worth the effort making an additional video. Now, in the previous video I went through a particular tape, and I went through my normal repair process of baking the tape, cleaning it, baking it, winding it, that sort of thing. And in that sequence I did video a particular part of the process, but it didn't make it to the final video that you saw. And it relates to the actual kind of chassis of the tape. So this is a typical DC100 tape chassis, and what we've got here are the pins that the tape spools run on, pins that the idler pulleys run on, and a pin that the drive pulley runs on. Then we have these two posts here that the tape runs around, and these are fairly important. They guide the tape and align it with the read-write heads, so the tape runs in the slots in these posts. And one of the problems with these tapes is they become sticky over time, which is why we bake them. And what they have a tendency to do is, if they're not baked, the tape is sticky, it will stick to itself and it will start grabbing. It will grab onto the post, it will grab onto itself, and it will grab onto the drive belt. So it will gradually get tighter and tighter. And what tends to happen is, as the tape starts to tighten up, it will start to grab onto these posts. But what's supposed to happen to prevent the tape from locking up is they should rotate. And that's the bit I kind of accidentally edited out. These should rotate freely. And on every single tape I've ever worked on or restored, these have been locked up solid. Now, just to properly clarify what I'm talking about here, I'm just going to put a little white sticker on this part of the roller if I can. Just have to do this off camera, I can't really see what I'm doing through the camera. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. I've put a small sticker onto the roller, but this should roll very freely. This should be free to spin. There should be almost no resistance if you try to turn this. So as you do this, hopefully you can see it is turning. But what you'll find, if you just take one of these tapes that's been sitting around for a while, this will appear to be a solid piece. It's actually in 3 pieces. You've got the bottom cheek, the center roller, and the top cheek. You've then got this little clip on top. You can take these off, by the way, and clean them properly. But if these don't turn freely, then when the tape grabs onto them, the whole thing will lock up, and you either snap the tape, snap the drive belt, or it will chew the tape up. Or it will just stop turning and you'll hear the capstan in the tape drive screeching, and it can burn out a capstan in just a few seconds if you do that. So when you're doing these tapes, you need to make certain these spin very freely, so just the slightest pressure they should turn. Now they don't normally spin at high speed with the tape, but they should be free enough so if the tape starts to tighten they will turn round and allow the tape to free itself off. But as I say, these are normally locked up solid and it can take quite a lot of work to free them up. What I normally do is soak them in IPA. You can't do it one corner at a time. I don't like putting the mirror in IPA. You can get the mirror off, but it's a bit of a pain to refit because it is riveted in place. But just putting the corner into some IPA for a while, you've got to be really careful not to damage the plain section, especially the center section of the roller, for scratches on here. Because this runs on the inside of the tape or the back of the tape, and that's the side of the tape that has the media on it, if there's any scratches on here, then as soon as the tape slides across this, it will basically scrape off all the magnetic media. But it is important these rotate very freely. You've got to do both of them. There's one at each side, of course, and this one needs to rotate as well. So part of the work I do is to strip it down like this, free this up. It can, as I say, it can take a bit of effort sometimes to get these free, but it must spin very, very freely. If it doesn't, you'll almost certainly destroy the tape. So I'll get this reassembled, and hopefully you'll see how this is used to stop the tape from binding up and grabbing too hard. So once the tape's been reassembled, we can see that the tape runs around the two guide posts that we looked at, and it is important that they can rotate freely. They don't normally spin at high speed as the tape goes around, but they must be able to rotate, and that's in case the tape does start to tighten. And if they can't rotate, the tape will start to tighten. It will then go tighter and tighter because the roller can't turn. The tape will grab onto the post and the system will carry on trying to turn the tape, and it will tear the magnetic media off the back of the tape and it will ruin the tape, and it will do that instantly. You won't have a chance to stop the tape. If these are working properly, what we should find is that if we try to move the tape, we should have almost no resistance to movement at all. This should turn extremely easily. If you're getting resistance at all, then something's wrong. It should just spin with almost no effort whatsoever. Also, you should find that if you rock it back and forward, you should see both reels moving together. If there's one turning and the other one's kind of lagging behind a bit, it means the tape is sticking somewhere and it needs to be freed off before you try and run it in the machine. On some of the tapes you encounter, you'll find they have a different style of post, of guide post, and they're fixed so the center portion doesn't rotate. And these can be more of a problem, because if these aren't able to rotate and the tape is getting a bit sticky and it starts grabbing, it will just lock up, and again the tape will be damaged. What I tend to do is I keep a few of the other style, the style I just showed you with the rotating posts handy, and I will transfer the tape into those. And if I'm trying to recover it, if it's at all doubtful that the tape is in good condition, and even if it is, it's still well worth taking that approach, and I then copy the contents of the tape onto a newer tape. So I copied the games tape, for example, onto a DC2000, and that way I can keep the original tape hopefully undamaged, but it probably wouldn't last very long if I don't do that. The intention when I get the HPIB working is to transfer all these tapes to electronic format anyway. I think most of the information is available online, but just in case some of it isn't. And as I say, the problem with this style is they can cause damage to the tapes. It's not a very good idea trying to use these. So if you do have access to the other style, you can use those. You can incidentally swap these around if you want to change it and you have some of the other types available, but you want to keep the original chassis. You can take these out. If you grab them fairly firmly and just rotate them, these will come out. You need to press them back in fully if you do take these out. It's quite a good way of cleaning them, but you can also make up new ones. If you want to make up your own, you could turn your own version of the rotating type, and they are quite easy to make. As I said, I wouldn't try to use this particular chassis for a DC100 tape. So if I do come across tapes that have this type of post, I swap the tape into my test tape chassis or tape cartridge and use that as part of the test. Still go through the baking process, that's important, otherwise the tape will stick to itself or to the belt and that will destroy it. So just be aware of this. If you don't have access to anything else, you can make your own. These aren't that difficult to make, and if you make the rotating type, then it's obviously going to be far less likely to damage your tapes. Okay, so hopefully that has helped anyone trying to recover data from this type of tape. And if you do have any old tapes, and even if you got a destroyed tape, certainly if it's the rotating style tape cartridge, it's worth hanging on to that even if you throw the tape away, because you can use it to recover tapes if you come across a cartridge of this type.